Oh, hey guys, third time lucky, and we're still talking about the Star Wars. See, in my last video, I didn't really talk much about the things that really mattered, apparently, because I'm a filthy millennial, I think. I'm not even sure what whatever, I'm turning 30 years soon. So that means I haven't grown up with Star Wars. Actually, it doesn't, but I haven't grown up with Star Wars because my mom is a fucking uncultured swine when it comes to movies and music. And, well, culture. She's very uncultured. It's terrible. She has no idea about anything, and she doesn't even understand the Star Wars. So of course, instead of the classical Star Wars movies, I grew up with the prequel trilogy. So I don't understand what happened now, because I don't understand the outrage about the new Star Wars, even though there hasn't been much outrage. In fact, people are probably just concerned how mediocre it is and how it's going to devalue the holy trilogy, the original trilogy. So why is that? Is it... Oh, spoilers, by the way. We're going to talk about Star Wars Last Jedi spoilers. So is it shit? Is it shit that Luke Skywalker is an old guy who hates everyone and also Jedi? He really hates Jedi, and he doesn't want to train he doesn't want to train Rey to become a Jedi because there's arguments to be made for not wanting to train a Jedi, and if you think about it, the Jedi just want to kill the Empire because the Empire thinks differently than them, and that's basically what the Empire wants to do with the rebels. So basically, who knows who's right and stuff, but obviously that kind of thinking isn't really accepted in Star Wars, because we got the evil Empire and the good rebels, but who fucking even... But Star Wars doesn't ask the questions if you can fight for peace, if that's a thing that works, or if it's inherently just going to lead to infinite war, if you're just gonna blow up the Death Star, if you're just gonna kill all the people that you disagree with. Star Wars doesn't ask that question, but now maybe Luke has become a pacifist, or maybe Luke has become a pessimist. It's hard to tell, because he doesn't want to train Leia because he's afraid that she might turn evil, which is reasonable because both his father and his prodigy have turned evil, so it makes sense that he would be concerned about that. But what makes even less sense is that he actually tried to kill Kylo Ren because he sensed the darkness in him. And that's what pushed Kylo over the edge. And apparently that's very out of character for Luke Skywalker to try and kill Kylo Ren in his sleep. Which I guess it must be, right? Yeah, I guess it must be out of character. And that's the argument I've heard for why Last Jedi is wrong, is because everyone's out of character. And you have the same thing in The Force Awakens, where Han Solo apparently has become a responsible person instead of a shitty smuggling pirate in the original trilogy, but then in Force Awakens he's back to being a shitty pirate. And you could argue that happened because his son turned evil, or you could argue that it happened because the movies completely devalue the purpose of the Holy Trilogy. So there's a lot of Star Wars fans that, unlike me, are upset that the new movie doesn't... Well, it basically undermines the previous trilogy, the original trilogy. So the question is that terrible? Is it terrible to have it so that now Luke is this crazy hermit that doesn't want to train? And he's even worse than Obi-Wan. No, actually Obi-Wan's pretty awesome, but Obi-Wan, he was a hermit, and then I guess he wanted to train Luke though, so I guess that's something. something that's very different to the way Luke does it, because Luke doesn't want to train he doesn't want to train Rey. Because I guess he might think that it might be better to just stop it, just let the Empire win. And obviously if the Empire won, then there'd be fewer people dying, because there'll be no war. And then maybe the Empire gets reformed from within. Maybe there's pacifist forces in the Empire, and now that there's no more war, that they could possibly come out and do the good thing, and they could make the Empire more democratic, and who fucking knows? I mean, that probably wouldn't happen, considering the Empire is run by a Sith Lord, but the Sith Lord doesn't even care about running the Empire. All that Palpatine ever wanted was to build the Death Star so he wouldn't have to run the Empire. He would just make the Death Star so nobody would contest the Empire, and then he would just go and be like a... Okay, this is some Star Wars series that I've listened to, because there's lots of Star Wars series going about. So apparently Palpatine wanted to look into how to become immortal, and he needed the Empire off his back while still having the resources of the Empire. So he built the Death Star so that the Empire is off his back. Now the Death Star will take care of everything, because no one would stand up against the Death Star, which is kind of like we have atom bombs and they prevent wars. But I guess obviously having the Death Star or the atom bombs ever being used is obviously bad, because who'd want to be blown up by an atom star? So basically you could see how the Empire is similar to states that we may have. But then there's not a lot of information here about if the Empire is truly evil, or if it's just fighting back against the rebels because the rebels started fighting. I mean, obviously the Empire was created from the Republic, and the Republic was originally democratic, but then Palpatine took over. And Palpatine doesn't even live... Well, I guess he would live forever if he got his way. Yeah, so I guess you can't argue that he's just gonna die at some point, and then the Empire can be democratic again. So it's so many things to consider. So basically, this is, what am I even doing? I'm supposed to talk about is it terrible that Luke has become unwilling to train Rey and stuff. So, see, when I saw the movie, I thought, oh my god, Luke, get fucking over it. You're obviously going to train Rey at some point, and this is going to be so fucking annoying. I don't want a whole movie about you refusing the call. But what if refusing the call would be the right choice? I mean, it wouldn't be the right choice in a movie, because in a movie you would have... Eventually, you can't refuse the call anymore, and then you're going to have to be the hero. But if it's the reality... Obviously, you could have actual refusal of the call, and therefore you could stop wars from happening. Maybe it's hard to tell. The choices. Meanwhile, there's fucking applications crashing on my desktop. Why is this wavepad so weird? It keeps making things crash. Well, it still keeps. What am I talking about? Right. So is it weird? What if we had Lord of the Rings and then we skip forward and there's another trilogy and now Aragorn is an evil king? What happens then? Because that's what the people feel like. They feel like, oh no, Luke is so different now than what he was, and it's completely unacceptable. And the entire character development of Han Solo has been made pointless by him being a pirate again. So they feel like the original trilogy has been pointless now, which I guess it is, because the First Order is basically the Empire, so basically all the winnings of the original trilogy were useless, because soon after there was a new Empire, and Luke didn't stop the Empire, he didn't stop the First Order, I don't know. What did he even do? I'm a bit hazy on the timeline. Did he go into hiding before or after the First Order emerged? Fucking Luke going into hiding. That's not... Luke's like the Superman, and he goes into hiding. It's basically like a Man of Steel. The worst Superman adaptation of all time, even though it's a kind of a good movie, but it's all just a refusal of the call going on for half the movie. He's just refusing to become Superman. And in the hero's journey, you have the refusal of the call, but it's not supposed to go on for half the movie. So that's how Man of Steel would fail, and that's how... And this is how Star Wars The Last Jedi is kind of weird in that way. But at least The Last Jedi is better than Man of Steel because it has other subplots. And whether or not they go anywhere doesn't matter because there's more to it. It's not just the refusal of the call, so that's good. But why is the refusal of the call there? And why is it so long? And what does it all mean? So what if the Lord of the Ring returns and now Aragorn is evil? How would that go? Would that undermine the happenings of the first movie? I mean, hard to tell, isn't it? I mean, I think I would love it. I'd love to see something where Aragorn is now the evil king, and now everyone has to... What if orcs are the main characters? And what if orcs are oppressed by the evil king, and it's like... It's like almost like the black teenagers and the cops of America, but let's not comment on social things here. I don't care about that issue at all. It just would be funny if it was like these young orcs that behave like young thugs would behave in America. Well, that would be such an interesting movie. But then again, it probably would. Would it take away from the original Lord of the Rings trilogy? Who could tell? I mean, I think I'd still watch it for sure. So in that effect, it would certainly be good because you'd have it to watch, and you wouldn't be unable to watch the old thing. So it would still be good. Yeah, I think I'd like that. I mean, give me orc drive-bys. Give me a modern society with orcs and humans, and it would be the best thing ever. Oh my god, could you imagine? That would be something. So basically, I'm on board with Luke being a crusty old man who doesn't want to fight. I'm being on board with anything. I'd be on board with Luke being evil. I'd be on board with Luke being an asshole and not being evil. But I'd be on board with anything, but I'm not quite on board with the Luke that we got because he wastes a lot of time being annoying and ambiguous and not really saying much. He's just a constant downer. It's not ideal, but I guess it doesn't matter that much. I mean, I can see how someone who really liked Luke Skywalker would be offended by this, but I always hated Luke. He was like those two guys, Luke and Han. They're like my least two favorite characters out of anything, I guess. And that's crazy. I guess I just don't like that kind of young and handsome man. It just drives me nuts. I like them older, please. I like my characters in movies older. Yep, that's me, I guess. Being crazy. So anyways, the question is, could we have made The Last Jedi without Luke being a piece of shit? And I think it would have been possible, even though it would have been harder. I mean, for one thing, you could probably have a more competitive First Order. That might make it still balanced. You have Luke fighting, but then you also have the First Order not be run by two teenage boys fighting. And Snoke being the disgruntled dad who doesn't know how to control them. we could have had well, even then, I guess even then they could have just been more lucky, because the rebels are pretty lucky, aren't they? The very last of these bombers happens to be able to drop all these bombs, and then actually that whole chase scene is kind of retarded. Where they could not have gotten to... That was the dumbest thing ever, the chase scene, actually. Because apparently they couldn't have chased down... If they had gone into hyperdrive, they would have overshot their target, right? And they couldn't have they couldn't have chased down the rebels with the hyperdrive. But that's also contrived and stupid, because all the Empire had to do in that situation was to send like one ship ahead, and then that one ship can come back to like right in front of those in front of the rebel ship, and then the rebels would have been fucked. It would have been so easy. But no, there were multiple Empire ships, right? Or was there just one? I don't. No, they've got a whole empire. They could have asked for more ships, surely. Yeah, definitely. There's no way that could have not worked. So that was just nonsense. That whole part of the movie, even though it was, I guess the subplot I liked, where they went to the casino planet. So basically, I guess they could have. I mean, the movie was already completely nonsense. So you could as well have had Luke Skywalker being there and fucking people up. It doesn't even matter, because Jedi are basically useless in space. I mean, they're good pilots, but one good pilot does not make an armada. And having just... Basically, Luke would have just been a good pilot, so he wouldn't even have made a big difference to the movie. So I don't see why Luke had to be this piece of shit, basically. And then he dies in the end. I've heard. I don't know, man. I didn't see it that way. I was getting more and more tired. It was pretty late at night, and I don't know. Maybe apparently he turns into a Force ghost before our eyes, but I don't know. Maybe he just glows. Doesn't even mean that he's dead, does it? I don't know. Maybe they made it so he explicitly died, but also people have. Maybe he actually knows how to come back. There's a lot of new Force tricks happening, so maybe he can rematerialize. Who even knows? Who could even tell? Or maybe he'll become the most powerful Force ghost of all time. Who knows? Maybe Luke will have his redemption. Maybe it'll all be good. Then it'll be just like Frozen, the Disney movie, right? It's basically the whole movie wasted with the two main characters not getting along, but then in the end they get along better than anyone else, and it was all worthwhile. Oh, great fucking job. Only the whole movie was wasted because they were just not getting along. Yep, great job. So basically... Well, I guess I'm still watching the next episode. I've heard a lot of people telling me, or telling the audience, that they're not going to watch the last movie of the trilogy, and I think that's just retarded. And what complaints could you possibly have that makes it so that you're not going to watch the last one? It's a fucking Star Wars movie. Oh my god. Well, let me know what you thought. Did you think that Luke Skywalker has become the worst character ever and he's acted completely out of character? Or do you think it's reasonable that he would have been an old man who becomes grumpy and also behaves in this way? What do you think of... Oh god, my audio's all over the place. I shouldn't have leaned back. Damn it. Well, tell me what you think. I'm really curious. What is The Last Jedi the best Star Wars movie? Because I think it is, but it's clearly got too many issues that make it incompatible with the original trilogy, according to some people. But then I think it's the best movie because the original trilogy looks like shit, while it's very entertaining, but it's just aged so poorly. And the prequel trilogy, while I love it, everyone else tells me it's terrible. And the Last Jedi, I think, is I think The Last Jedi is the best one because it has both mainstream appeal as well as I love it. So there you go. That's me having... It's my favorite Star Wars movie. You tell me, damn it. You just use the comments. Oh, I'd also really like to make a gif of Snoke dying, and then he says, "Luke, I am your..." And then he's gonna say father, but then he dies because he gets sliced by the lightsaber. Now that would have been something. That would be a cool thing, a cool meme. But it probably wouldn't work because it has spoilers in it. But then again, who knows? I think it'd be funny. So I almost forgot to talk about that. Oh Jesus! After all this, so people apparently didn't like that Snoke just dies like that because because he's built up as this big bad and now he's just died. But I think it's brilliant because all these times these people are just swinging around their lightsabers and then they somehow never die. Or at least they don't die unless they make a heroic sacrifice. And then Snoke, he just dies because he's stupid. And I love it. I mean, no, he's not even dying because he's stupid. Maybe they just fooled him too well. Because he was reading Kylo's mind. So how did Kylo manage to sneak that lightsaber up Snoke's ass? I think he just got outsmarted. I don't think he was stupid. It's just... I think it's just great that this highlights how important lightsaber safety is and how easily someone could just die from a lightsaber. And I think it's this whole taking itself too seriously, where you basically have these immortal characters just as Darth Vader and Palpatine, and they can only ever die at the end of the movie. And it's great that it's actually possible that people could just die because they've not paid attention to a lightsaber. I think these lightsabers and these laser guns, they're also incredibly dangerous, and people don't die enough from them. And it's good that this movie's actually made someone die like that. But then again, apparently Darth Maul got cut up too, and he's returned in the Clone Wars, the animated series, and he had a spider body, he had spider legs, so basically it's possible that Snoke's still alive, but I guess it's not likely considering that Kylo was right there, and he probably would have made sure that he's dead, I would assume, because he probably stayed on that bridge right after Snoke died. He probably had Snoke cleaned up and everything, so maybe he actually made sure he's dead, but maybe Snoke actually is the almighty powerful Sith Lord, and he's gonna come back, and then the Force Ghost of Luke is gonna fight Snoke, and everything's gonna be the most amazing Lord of the Rings trilogy of all time. Yeah, it could happen. Oh, by the way, while we're already too long on this video, how about I'm going to tell you some things that I saw that were really entertaining on the internet. And for one, it's Mark Hamill talking to, well, I guess people that are at some kind of university, and he's just really enjoyable to listen to. So you should check out Mark Hamill interviews, even though apparently he's probably not been too pleased with Luke's portrayal in these latest, in The Last Jedi. But if you look at anything that's older than that, he's just so amazingly fun to listen to, even though he's got this really crackly voice, and I almost thought that The Last Jedi had audio problems, but I guess that's just how Mark Hamill sounds now. It's crazy. It's like recorded on a really shitty mic. So, well, that was pretty good. You should definitely check that out. And the other thing I was going to tell you is that there's this new Red Letter Media video about Star Wars. It's called Half in the Bag. It's not one of those Plinkett reviews, but it's still really good. It's really entertaining to watch. And this is the most important stuff about Star Wars, or just anything that's really so big as Star Wars. Star Wars can't stop making Star Wars because it's so good. Not just the thing itself, but the reaction of the internet to it. It's just so good. So much brilliant entertainment has been created dissecting Star Wars and talking about Star Wars, and it's also fun for me to watch. And this is why no one should ever miss out on Star Wars, which is too bad because no one will see this video who doesn't want to get spoiled on Star Wars. So there you go. Well, spoilers are shit anyways. Who cares? I'm gonna watch this movie like 5 more times in my life for sure, because I'm gonna make I'm in a marathon right now where I'm gonna marathon all of the Star Warses. Probably not gonna contain The Last Jedi because it's gonna be, unless I go to the cinema. Now, I'm not going to the cinema again, but yeah, whenever it's on DVD, I'll probably watch it then. So yeah, check out those two things. Bye!